Hello, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. Jake will be joining us very shortly, but today we have 7 Milwaukee Brewer games to recap. We're going to recap the Milwaukee Brewers series in Pittsburgh that they split with the Pirates, who are playing better baseball of late, and then the sweep of the Boston Red Sox that just wrapped up with the Brewers' second walk-off in as many days. And then today is going to be part 3 of our Milwaukee Bucks offseason coverage. Today we are going to be discussing the coaching strategies as it pertains to the Bucks coaching staff and the roster construction as it pertains to the offseason potential moves coming this summer. Just want to let everybody know this week we are not covering any type of transactional type stuff. We're not going to be throwing out names of who we want the Bucks to sign or trade for or anything like that. Today is going to be strictly how we want the roster to be constructed and then how we want the coaching staff to use it. So we're going to hit the intro and we will start with the Brewers.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so like I said, the Brewers split their series with the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Game 1 of the Pirates series. This was another game where I felt like Caleb Durbin was close. He's close to being able to get some hits. He's hitting some deep flyouts. The Brewers did start Aaron Savali with this game back from his rehab appearance. The goal for him was to throw 75 to 85 pitches. He ended up throwing 73. He went 4 innings pitch, had 2 earned runs. Not bad considering he had the bases loaded with nobody out in the top of the first inning. He did have a couple walks and 1 hit by pitch. And then shout out to Carlos Rodriguez, who they were piggybacking with Savali, who pitched an inning and a third after a delay. For him to, sorry, not an inning and a third, to have runners on first and third after a rain delay, get a strikeout, and then the bottom of the 8th. Did have a walk that he allowed after being up in the count 1 and 2. Immediately got a ground ball double play, which was great to see. And Murphy still had to use McGill for 3 batters through 15 pitches. But Carlos Rodriguez getting out of that jam in the bottom of the 8th did save Grant Anderson for a day. Christian Yelich was officially back when it came to game 1 of the Pirates series. He hit home runs number 8 and 9. Right after last week, we had just talked about how the Brewers can fix their hitting and get their bats going, and talking about Christian Yelich and how we were just talking about just a couple degrees of his angles, getting the ball squared up more and not having so many hard hit ground balls and stuff like that, but just being able to get the ball squared up in those situations. And then he goes out and hits 2 home runs in the next game that they play. So great to see that. The second one that he hit was 110.7 miles an hour off the bat. That's an absolute nuke. The only guy that hits balls a lot harder than that often is on the other team in this series, and we'll talk about him plenty.
Yep.
As I mentioned, Carlos Rodriguez was able to save Grant Anderson. He did struggle a little bit in the bottom of the 6th, gave up the infield double and then an actual double and a walk, all while it was raining. So I'm not super worried about Carlos Rodriguez. He'll still be a part of the Brewers' future as a more bottom of the rotation guy. But Jake, what did you see from the Brewers and Pirates game 1?
Well, we welcome back Aaron Savali. I'm sure you covered that. Sorry I was a little late. We got some rain. We got some construction on 41 over here. So it's a shit show, my boy. But we got Aaron Savali back. So this starting pitching is starting to come together. As we're talking about this Pirates series, and we're going to go into the Red Sox series. We're talking about the Brewers, going on 15 days straight of playing baseball games. So these guys are exhausted. They're on the road. They're traveling. They're getting on an airplane, traveling back, playing day games, night games, getting rained out for hours on end, and then still finishing games. I mean, a long week for the Brewers. The season feels like it's taken forever to get to this point, but it's really starting to feel like this Pirates series was just what the doctor ordered, really. When you look at Savali, 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 3 Ks. So all in all, I mean, giving us 4 innings, a 4 hit, 2 earned, I'm not too upset about it. It'd just be nice to get him back into the groove of things. Nice to have Big Z back. He's been an absolute stud since he's come back. So welcome back to him. Rodriguez, as you stated, he will be back up. Good to see him above 500. I could not agree more. I was thinking that as soon as the walk-off, I was like, finally, dude. God, they've been scratching and clawing at that forever. Rodriguez was the man of the hour in this game. To pitch before the rain delay and then come back out after the rain delay and do what he did. I mean, to get a strikeout right away after that, right after the rain delay, was just like, all right, the Brewers are going to win this baseball game. It was a good sign having Yelly hit 2 homers. Obviously, you covered that already.
Yep.
So his 11th multi-homer game of his career. I don't know if you said that part.
I did not mention that part.
Oh, so his 11th multi-homer game. So there you go. And on top of that, we had 4 2-out RBIs. So I think that's important. Ortiz also had a home run. His came with 2 outs. He was one of the 2-out RBIs. And then you look at the hits, walks, and Ks combined. The Brewers had 10 hits and 3 walks. So that's 13 compared to the 5 strikeouts. That's a recipe for success in my book. And the Pirates had 9 hits and 7 walks. 7 walks is pretty crazy, a little high for me. But that adds up to 16 compared to their 6K. So they had a recipe for success as well. But the Brewers were just better. Yelly hit multi-home runs, Ortiz multi-home runs. The Brewers were walking, getting on base, doing their thing, and shuffling across, scored 8 runs. So for a team that's struggled to score runs, to score 8 and get a big-time win on the road, they struggled to score runs and they struggled to win on the road. So 2 things they knocked off there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was a little bit different in Game 2. Go to Game 2, the Brewers lost this game 6-5 on a walk-off wild pitch.
Yeah, go ahead. I need to get a drink real quick.
So Freddie Peralta, as he does, allowed a solo home run to O'Neal Cruz. You can't get behind 3-1 to that guy. Because if that guy can just sit fastball and he can swing away, he can hit balls 120 miles an hour off the bat.
Insane.
Yeah, so if he knows what pitch is coming, he can hit really big bombs. If he doesn't know which pitch is coming, he can be struck out. He can bat like 230. So like that's the duality of O'Neal Cruz, but that's why you can't get behind to a guy like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel similarly about Ellie De La Cruz, who the Brewers will see next week. But then back-to-back walks after that, after a single and the catcher's interference for the second run, he pitched 4 1/3 innings, had 3 strikeouts. Grant Anderson came in with the bases loaded with 1 out and got 2 strikeouts. That was great to see. Grant Anderson has been the diamond in the rough as far as the bullpen is concerned. The starting pitching is what it is. We knew what we were kind of getting with everybody there. But Grant Anderson kind of out of nowhere in the bullpen has been very effective. After this game, I was a little worried about Jared Koenig. Mears was back on track, and Abner Uribe showed that he was human. Basically allowing a solo home run again. I mean, O'Neal Cruz is a beast.
Yeah, he is.
And that's why you can't get behind to a guy like that because, like I said, that guy can hit crazy, crazy home runs. It was good to see Jackson Chourio off to a really nice start with this game. Had a single in the first inning and then defensively had 2 really nice ranging catches, one in the left center gap, one in the right center gap in the bottom of the second. So good to see Jackson Chourio kind of finding his stride in center field, and it's starting to trickle into his offense where he's starting, he's not like having a crazy breakout, but you can see his at-bats, the quality is better.
Yep, because he's not pressing as much. I agree.
Right. So with this game, the Brewers also called up Aaron Ashby and sent Carlos Rodriguez back down to AAA. But, that Chourio is my big takeaway as far as the Brewers offense is concerned. So what stood out to you from Game 2 against the Pirates?
Yeah, so lots of good things. Get into it. We had 3 players with multiple hits. Chourio, as you mentioned, 2 for 4, 1 run, RBI, and a walk. So he's on base 3 times. Yelly, 2 for 4 again, back-to-back days and multiple hits for Yelly. So as you can tell, there's going to be a trend this week. He started to get cooking in this Pirate series. He also had a walk, so he was on base 3 times in this game. And Rhys Hoskins stays hot, 2 for 3, 1 walk, 1 RBI. He was the only Brewer to record an RBI off of Skeens, who was very good in this game. He's always very good.
He's good.
He's always very good. And that came with 2 outs in the 6th inning. So good for Hoskins to get one across against Skeens. Contreras, Terang, Collins, and Chourio joined in on the fun with the RBIs afterwards. Contreras had a homer in a 7-pitch at bat versus Bednar that gave the Brewers a lead in the top of the 9th inning. So
Bednar's a good pitcher too, by the way.
He is.
Just because he's on the Pirates doesn't make him a bad pitcher. Like the Pirates in general have good pitching, but David Bednar is a pretty solid closer.
Yeah, he's pretty good. So we talk all the time about just because this may be a loss or this may have happened or XYZ may have happened afterwards, it doesn't take away from the clutch play from Contreras to hit a homer there. So the guy in Contreras who has always been good with 2 outs since he's come over, always been good for the clutch moments. He comes through for the Brewers in this instance, and you know what? They just didn't end up winning this game, but still, it's good to see him fighting at bats. Like I said, a 7-pitch at bat, he had to foul a pitch off to stay alive to see that next fastball, and he didn't miss the next fastball. So wanted to give him props there. Terang as well. His clutch hitting this week was tremendous. He was awesome 7th, 8th, 9th inning and beyond this whole week. So he gets another RBI late. This was the first one this week, and also Collins is I
said it last week. He's seeing the ball well.
He's a guy. He's playing good defense. He's hitting the ball hard.
Yeah.
So Collins might stick around. I mean, I love Garrett Mitchell, but with as much as Garrett Mitchell gets hurt, I'm just saying Collins could be a guy that you feel good that if Mitchell ends up getting hurt, and I don't want that to happen. I would love Garrett Mitchell to stay healthy the rest of the year when he comes back. But Collins makes you feel a little bit better about that. I mean, we do have some other reinforcements in the outfield need be, but wanted to give Collins, I mean, it makes you feel good. You sleep better at night knowing you have that guy behind you with experience and playing good defense. So he just missed a homer yesterday as well. He
hit 2 balls to the warning track today too.
Yeah, he's seen the ball well.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, it is important to keep pointing it out when it happens. That just because the win-loss doesn't go our way does not mean, like you said, the Contreras home run in the top of the 9th in that moment was a very clutch hit. Just because they lost the game does not take that away.
Yes.
It does not take that away from being a clutch hit in the moment that it happened in. So we're gonna definitely keep hammering on that when things like that happen. So going into Brewers Pirates game 3, and I'm seeing people suggesting to send Quinn Priester down to AAA. And I don't think that should be done. Quinn Priester, his off-speed stuff in game 3 against the Pirates looked pretty good. He was hitting his spots with his sinker, which increases the effectiveness of things like that, of the off-speed pitches. And it led to a career, not even tied. It led to him actually having a career high 7 strikeouts. Yeah, the guarantee on the box help you sleep at night.
It sure does, Jason. Sure does.
But it's on the box. So Quinn Priester, 6 innings pitched, career high 7 strikeouts to give up 6 hits, had 1 walk, only 1 earned run. Since you brought it up, his first 4 starts, he had 2 good ones, then 2 bad ones. Since then, he's had 3 really good starts.
Yeah.
So you're talking out of 7 starts that he's made for the Brewers, he's got 5 good ones and 2 bad ones. I mean, Tommy boy, that's worth it.
Hey, we're all men here. It's okay.
So I mean, I have no complaints about Quinn Priester.
Yeah.
Since his 2 bad games, he's turned in 3 really good ones. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run. I will take that every 5 days until the end of the season.
Yeah, give me 6 innings, dude, and 1 earned run. I mean,
absolutely, and 7 Ks. Like that's great. I'll take that every single time you take the ball.
Yep.
Aaron Ashby returned to his relief, and he was throwing gas.
Yeah, he was.
I said to you that Koenig and Alexander need to be at their best because Ashby and DL Hall are coming for their jobs soon. The middle relief role that Alexander is occupying, DL Hall's coming for that role. And Aaron Ashby, who looked really good out of the bullpen last year, is going to potentially take some leverage away from Jared Koenig if he keeps giving up runs occasionally.
Yeah.
It's going to be to a point where, Aaron Ashby's got a couple more miles an hour on his fastball than Koenig does. And we'll talk about it when we get to some of his other outings. His breaking stuff is breaking a lot.
Yeah, you were mentioning that last night.
Yeah. Other than that, obviously the Brewers have to score more than one run. The
Yes.
Brewers actually out-hit Pittsburgh 11-9, but like I've said tons and tons of times, you have to stack traffic. The Brewers did only go 1-2-3 in this game twice, but they were 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, which overall really isn't even that bad. That's pretty league average, bat around 250 with runners in scoring position. But 5 times they had multiple guys reach and then stranded 11 runners on base. So it's like I said, the stacking traffic, you have to be able to get 3, 4, 5 guys on in an inning to be able to score a couple runs at a time.
Yeah.
You know, you can put 2 guys on base all you want. There's 3 bases. You got to stack more than 2 or 3 base runners.
Mm-hmm.
So game 3, for me, it was really all about Quinn Priester. Taylor said, I think Alexander might be gone. His job is less secure than Koenig. That is absolutely true. We talked about it early in the season. Tyler Alexander is not in the long-term plans for the Brewers, but he's here to eat some innings.
Yep. And he's done a tremendous job of that, so thank you for that. In terms of this game, I agree with you. Priester was very good. Yelly, another 2-hit game, so that makes 3 out of 3 in this Pirates series with multiple hits for Yelly, 2 for 4 and a run. He got hit in the top of the second by Durbin, 2 outs in the second inning, tied the game at 1-1. So Durbin coming through in some clutch situations as well, runners in scoring position. So good for him. He's starting to come around. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit harder too. This offense slowly is starting to piece some things together. They're starting to battle a little bit more. They're starting to get a little bit more lucky breaks too, like they did today with Durbin dropping one out there in left field. But it just seems like the first month of the season, every time they would hit it on the screws, as they say in baseball. Baseball is the best because it has so many random sayings like can of corn and stuff like that. It's like, what? And like I said, he was like, they got normal looking dudes throwing 95, just like doing cool shit. Like if you're in basketball, you're like 6'8", and you're like, yeah, you're in the NBA. That makes a lot of sense. But anyways, like you said, Brewers 11 hits, 0 walks, and 9 Ks. 4 of the 9 Ks came from Hoskins. He had a rough day at the plate. And the Pirates had 9 hits and a walk and had 10 Ks. So just not a great offensive game to be at if you were a Brewers or Pirates fan at this game. You saw a lot of bad baseball, a lot of bad swings. You can look at it that way. You can look at the pitchers were executing pitches, which they were. Yeah. So, like you said, Ashby, that's another guy, man. I would love to see him stay healthy for a whole year to see what the frick
for
he
sure.
He can probably put some nasty stats together because he's got some good stuff.
With him and DL Hall, they went into the spring preparing both of them as starters, even though the Brewers have a whole bunch of starters available. And, you know, they might get to a point where they end up making starts for the team this year. But we talked about it in the offseason. We like the idea of Aaron Ashby, the reliever, because of the stuff that he has. And, you know, the command for him is something that's still a little bit erratic, but his stuff is there.
I mean, just thinking about, you know, just staying on this game alone, Priester and Ashby, I could see that being a stack where Priester goes 5-6 innings, and then you're like, Ashby, you got to finish the game. And you let him pitch the last 4 or 5 innings, and you save the bullpen.
You've seen ways that they've done this, too, is a lot of the last week and a half with how much the bullpen has had to be used, that whoever is in the game, they get to pitch until they come up to a bad matchup.
Yep.
Like this Red Sox series that we're about to talk about is going to be a great example.
Yep.
But having righties in there, and then you have a stretch where you have a couple tough lefties, that's when the change is being made. If you can get all the outs leading up to that section of the lineup, you're going to be able to stay in the game.
Yeah.
As soon as you get to that section of the lineup, if there's nobody on base, you might get one batter. But as soon as there's trouble on and you have an unfavorable matchup, Murphy's going to the bullpen.
Yeah.
So let's go to Brewers Pirates game 4, and what stood out to you from that one?
Well, I'm gonna let you do all the glazing of Henderson today.
Oh, we need to have conversations after that. So if you want to start some glazing, I'll have the the annoying roster construction conversation again that I had on social media over the weekend.
We don't have to have that conversation.
It needs to be brought up because it needs to be discussed in words and not just in social media.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I understand why they're doing it. So
I know why. I know you do. And I know like most of the people that are going to listen to or watch our show probably understand, but still have to have the conversation.
That's fair. That's fair. He was good. He was really good. Another 5 innings. He's just doing a tremendous job getting through the 5, qualifying for a quality start. 5 hits, an earned run, 6 Ks. I mean, what more can you ask from the kid than what he's already given you? There's a number of stats out there about, number of strikeouts. He has the second most strikeouts, with their first 4 starts as a Brewer. He's at 29, I believe, because I remember telling myself, like, man, you couldn't just get to the even 30. What's up, Justin? In terms of Nick Mears, this, if you couldn't tell, this was a telltale sign that he is being way overused.
Overworked, for sure.
He is exhausted. His arm is not lively, as they say in spring training. Third of an inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. I mean, obviously he sat down for 2 days after this game, and it was much needed. And we'll get into discussions about what happened in today's game.
Yeah.
Jared Koenig, this is where you and I were having a conversation, and you were talking about how you were starting to get a little bit worried about Jared Koenig because he was starting to give up some pretty hard contact on a consistent basis, and that's kind of where you start to be like, red flag, light bulb.
To me, it was starting to feel like every other outing he was giving up a run.
Yeah,
like a singular run, but still a run.
Yeah, and we have to talk about how the Brewers are playing a lot of close games. And you brought this up. I don't know if you brought this up on the show, but you definitely brought it up to me that the Brewers have to literally just kill somebody. They have to have a day where they just whoop somebody's ass.
Yeah.
Save the bullpen.
They need to blow out win bad.
They just need to kill somebody. And every game is, by 1 run. I mean, this game 6-5, 1-2. I mean, then they had a 6-5 and an 8-5. I mean, they don't have any games where it's like not high pressure situation. So
I was just gonna say, and even last night, they won by 4 runs, but it wasn't a 4-run game that they had going on.
No, they won it in extra innings. So if you watch that game, and we'll get into discussions of how it happened, but getting to the point where it was 1-1, and then getting to the point where you had to load the base. I mean, it's
right.
They're in high pressure situations. These batters are in high pressure situations every at bat. The bullpen is in high pressure situations every time they come up, and they have to get 3 outs, and it's like, all right, we need 3 outs, and you don't understand, like, they're taking deep breaths between every single pitch because this is important stuff. The beginning of the season is important stuff to set up the rest of the year.
Yeah, there's no cushion.
Yeah,
when you're up by 1 run all the time, the
margin for error is very small. So, terms of RBIs, Hoskins, Turang, Frelick, Durbin with 2 of them. Durbin, Frelick, and Turang all with 2-out RBIs. So 4 more 2-out RBIs to go for the 6 runs for the Brewers. They had 7 hits, 5 walks, and only 2 strikeouts for the Brewers. That's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Compared to the Pirates, who did out-hit the Brewers 12-7. They still had 4 walks, but they had 11 strikeouts. So, the Brewers pitchers did a nice job, striking some people out. I mean, obviously Henderson had 6 of them, so he had a little bit over half. But good stuff. I wanted to do 2 more things. I wanted to talk about series. In terms of the series, the Brewers had 53 runners on base, 14 walks, 39 hits, and 32 strikeouts. So 53-32. I'm not that mad at it, honestly. They had a 16 strikeout game in there. So, I mean, that's half of them right there. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. In terms of the Pirates, they had 42 hits and 17 walks and 35 Ks. So, I mean, they still got on base as well. But the Brewers put more runs on the board, I think. I didn't do that. I didn't add that in there. I meant to add that in there this week.
They won a 6-5. They lost a 6-5.
8. Yeah. 2 to.
They won 8-5, and then they lost. Was it 3-1?
2-1.
2-1.
2-1. Yeah. So they.
Yeah. So they won the series by 2 runs.
By 1 run. In terms of Yelly versus the Pirates, 5 of 16, 4 of 38.
7 of 16.
Oh, what the hell? That is not what it said on my phone. My bad. He had a 500 on base percentage, 813 slug, and a 1313 OPS, 5 runs, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and 2 walks.
He raised his batting average 21 points over this series.
That's
4 games. He raised his batting average by 21 points.
That's insane.
That's another thing, like we were saying last week, like one good week and he can drastically change his batting average. One good month and he's right back up in the 280s, 290s.
Yep. And then people are going to be like, oh, man, Christian Yelich is still balling, huh?
Yeah. Got up to a slow start. Nope, here he is doing what he does.
Mm-hmm.
So, Logan Henderson, he was off to a solid start. First inning, 1-2-3, 2 strikeouts. A bit of traffic in the second inning, and then we get to a point where a blatant strike 3 call, and I'm so fucking tired of this having blatant strikes being called balls for whatever reason, whether it's a bad frame. There's an example of Eric Haas who dropped a ball as he was trying to frame it. I'm gonna say this when we get to a different game, but there needs to be something done about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it led to was it ended up being what should have been a strikeout, became a walk, and then Logan Henderson had to throw a bunch of extra pitches to the next batter, and he ended up throwing 31 pitches in the inning, which contributed to a slightly early exit for him and more bullpen usage.
Yeah.
This is the kind of contextual stuff where it's like these types of things that are happening aren't necessarily the fault of the pitcher. And then it's hurting our pitching, not just the starters, but the entire team.
Very true.
There's examples from today's game that we're going to get to when we get there, but there's these things matter. Like this stuff matters. This umpire ended up contributing to the Brewers having to use more bullpen guys, which, like we just talked about, like Jake just mentioned, Nick Mears allowed a run. Jaron Koenig allowed 2 runs. Both of them have been used a ton in the last week and a half.
Yes.
There's fatigue there. They haven't had an opportunity where it's like, hey, we're going to throw you in just because you haven't pitched in 3 days. It's like, we need you again. And on top of you having pitched 3 of the last 4 days, we also need you to go 2 innings. Because I was feeling pretty good about Jerry Koenig when he came in, had a sac bunt, and then struck out O'Neal Cruz.
Yep.
But they asked him to go back out for the 7th, and he went single, gave up a 2-out walk, a blooper to left that Jackson Churio almost caught, but it fell, and that allowed 2 runs to score.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a tough situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there is some credit due to the Pirates for scoring runs with 2 outs. That's fine and well. But on our side of looking at it, the bullpen usage is up, and there's things that are contributing to starters having to be pulled early more than just Pat Murphy. Oh, here's Pat Murphy, won't leave a starter in. He's going back to the bullpen. Some of these situations, he doesn't have choices. Do you want Logan Henderson to be added to the list of guys that has to make a bunch of rehab starts because his shoulder has impingement and he has to make, a bunch of rehab appearances because he was overused and had to throw 40 pitches in an inning and he had to throw 80 pitches in a game and 50 of them came in 2 innings like Freddie Peralta did today?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the bullpen has to be used, but you got to give those guys some relief too. And that's where we got to the situation where the Brewers piggybacked Savali and Carlos Rodriguez together in the first game of this series.
Yep. Now,
that said, Henderson did have a situation where he had a couple good looks at a pickoff in an inning, and Terang just couldn't hold on to him. It is what it is.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing, too, where the defense can help out the pitching a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert for today's game. But in Game 4, it was great to see the offense come through for the Brewers. They were hitting almost exclusively singles the entire series, and then they got down 2 runs, ripped 3 straight doubles by Collins, Durbin, and Terang. This was the Brewers' first comeback after the 7th inning or later.
Yeah.
So, good way to end the series on a win. Split 2 with the Pirates. And, yeah, you want to beat the Pirates because they're kind of the punching bag of the NL Central. But, I mean, they had a comeback win in the 8th inning. They scored 7 runs, I think, in the 8th inning against the Diamondbacks last night, who don't look now, but 1 game under 500.
Yeah.
That's not where anybody thinks that team is going to be.
No.
So, I'm not using the Diamondbacks as an excuse for the Brewers to not be 5-6 games over 500 instead of 1, but the Brewers aren't in an awful spot.
Honestly, with how the rest of the NL looks, they're really not.
So,
and we play the Cardinals and Cubs coming up in this next month, so there's definitely opportunities to make some hay here.
Andrew said you can tell when a team never wins when they celebrate 1-run wins against a team like the Red Sox. Or you got a walk-off win. You take wins and you can get them.
How about we celebrate 3 wins against the Red Sox? You like that better, or you want us just to focus on 1 at a time? Because
we're going to focus on 1 at a time.
That's why I was setting it up. We'll do it either way.
I mean, it's kind of weird to say a team that's been in the playoffs 6 out of the last 7 years never wins.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So we can go to the Red Sox series. Let's start with game 1. What stood out to you from Monday's game against the Red Sox?
Well, we got to start with the first pitch of the game, right?
Naturally.
The least patient hitter I think I've seen ever play for the Brewers.
That's factual.
Decides to just go up there. He's just like, you know what? Memorial Day, we're all feeling good. The roof
Dude,
is open.
you're throwing a white ball with red laces? I want to swing at it.
Right down the pipe, correct. I literally turned the game on, and I was walking into the kitchen to get my daughter some water because she was like, I want some water. And I'm like, okay. And I turned around, and like I have this little weird area between my living room and my kitchen, a little tiny little hallway thing. And all of a sudden I hear, oh, Cheerio lifts one. I'm like, what the hell, bro? Like I was expecting like, and that's strike one or that's ball one, because like usually, that's what happens. You usually take a pitch, but nope. Cheerio had other plans. Fuck it.
He wasn't even planning on swinging at the first pitch.
He just goes,
but he's like, you know what? I like it.
Fuck it, dude. I love that guy, dude. He's gonna be so fun the next 10 years, man. Got to give some credit to Chad Patrick. He has been, honestly, no negative talk about him, and he doesn't deserve any because he's been really, really good.
I've seen people saying that he should have been sent down instead of Logan Henderson.
Okay, well, we're going to move on from that conversation. Chad Patrick's been really fucking good, so I'm just going to talk about it. Dude, we have a lot of young, good players.
Yeah.
One way to protect the young, good players is to protect them from themselves. Okay?
Sure.
And you were 100% correct. Do you want to add Logan Henderson? I mean, who was the guy last year that pitched for us? Lefty, new lefty. I'm blanking on his name.
Wade Miley?
No, he got hurt. Young guy.
DL Hall?
No. Keep going.
New young lefty.
Yes, he was a younger guy. Gosser. Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, that was the point I was trying to make is we could have Henderson turn out like Gosser where he has to get Tommy John surgery or
Henderson
something.
has already dealt with injuries in his career too. That's why he's arriving a little bit later.
Right. Gosser. I was totally blanking on the name. So Taylor with the all-time assist here. We could have Logan Henderson end up like Gosser, where he has to get surgery and be all banged up, and then he's damaged goods at that point. We have to try to, put him through rehab and then hope that he could turn out to be the way that he was when he first came up here. And that's a whole conversation that I don't think we want to have.
Not if we don't have to.
Not if we don't have to, exactly. Plus, he has some options left. He's a younger guy, so
that's the other part of it.
That's another part of it. Your prize is you get to hear me stumble over my words for the next 45 minutes. So congratulations for you. That's the prize you were looking for.
I didn't even have to do anything, and I get that prize.
Fucking once a week. So Chad Patrick, he was tremendous. 4 1/3, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 6 Ks through 79 pitches. But he got the job done. 0 earned runs is the biggest thing for me. And DL Hall. Now, he said after the game that he didn't feel like he threw his stuff very good, but he looked good out there. I'll say that. A lot of hype for him coming back along with Ashby. So very excited to have DL Hall and Ashby back. DL Hall actually got the win. So
I need to jump in on DL Hall because he is the third piece of this puzzle. So this entire conversation that I had between Sunday and Monday of people being like, oh my God, Logan Henderson's the Brewers' best pitcher and he's the one that's being sent down. That's bullshit. Like, roster construction as far as Major League Baseball is concerned is something that is the biggest back and forth out of any professional sport. Nobody is sending guys up and down like they do in baseball.
Yeah.
And when it comes to pitchers, especially starters, those are guys who pitch once every 5, sometimes 6 days, depending on off days and rest.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Henderson pitched Sunday. Mm-hmm. At the very earliest, the next time he was going to pitch again would be Saturday. We just spent almost the entire time recapping the 4th game of the Pirates series, talking about how the bullpen has been overused and the things that contributed to that. Mm-hmm. The Brewers needed DL Hall on Monday, not to wait for Chad Patrick to pitch Monday and then send him down because his numbers aren't as good as Logan Henderson's. That's not how it works. You don't send down guys who have not as good in numbers just because you don't want to send down the guy who has good numbers. Logan Henderson can go up and down 5 times this year. He's been up and down twice. He can go up and down 5 times, and this still counts as one option year. So he's going to go up and down. It's probably going to happen another 2, maybe 3 times. They might use all 5 options for him.
They might.
And he has to stay down a minimum of 10 days unless somebody gets injured. Now, in those next 10 days, Jose Quintana is expected back, and Brandon Woodruff is expected back in the next 10 days. So, unfortunately, for Logan Henderson, he's not needed on the Brewers roster as it relates to this Boston Red Sox series. DL Hall is. Chad Patrick is. He needed to start Monday. DL Hall was needed Monday. And to both of their credits, Chad Patrick allowed 2 one-out base runners in the second and the third innings and did well navigating it, retiring the next 2 batters both times. DL Hall was brought in to face Rafael Devers, like we said. With the bullpen usage, it's basically the starters get up to a point where there's unfavorable matchups in the lineup for the opponent, and that's when relievers are brought in. For the Red Sox series, it was getting to the top of the lineup where Jarren Duran and Rafael Devers are. That's when the lefties come in. So Monday, it was DL Hall. He pitched 2 1/3 innings, and he is known for his changeup, but his slider looked really good. And he gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, a strikeout through 33 pitches, and was pretty efficient, honestly. He allowed 1 earned run that came from inherited to Abner Uribe, who got a bullshit strike zone on Monday. And 2 should have been backwards Ks became a single and a fielder's choice and allowed the inherited runner to score. Then you get to Trevor McGill, who was having trouble finding the strike zone, allowed 2 walks. He had to throw 34 pitches, but did get the job done. You look at the bottom of the 8th inning when William Contreras had a 1-out walk. Rhys Hoskins struck out. Sal Frelick singled him over to third, and Sal stole second. And the Brewers had an infield single that scored a 3rd run. That insurance run became the winning run. So the Brewers only scored 3 runs, but getting 2 versus Garrett Crochet is tough. He's a really good pitcher. Now, the Brewers, like I said, as far as it relates to the bullpen, going into Monday's game, actually this is after Monday's game, the Brewers were 2nd in Major League Baseball in bullpen usage. So when it comes to sending somebody down, it was a starter. It was going to be a starter. The guy who has options, the guy who's on the fringe of the roster is Logan Henderson. He's been pitching great. You say thank you, and we will see you again soon.
Yep.
That's it. It's not some ploy to some malpractice by Matt Arnold to be sending Logan Henderson down. He's the guy with options. He's the youngest guy. He's the 7th starter right now. I don't care that you think he's better than Savali or Priester. Those guys are here to be here. Logan Henderson is here to fill in and be part of the future. That's where he's at in his career right now. So again, you say thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
What stood out to you? Anything else you wanted to say about Monday before we get into last night?
Just wanted to give congrats to Monasterio getting an RBI on the board, man. Happy for him. He's a guy a couple years ago that made an impression on us for his happy-go-lucky kind of attitude. He still has that. So when a team's starting to get hot here, that feeling that he gives off of just always being happy, always being positive, it hits a little bit harder when you win some games. So good for him. Good win for the Brewers, honestly. Hard fought.
Andrew Monasterio is a guy that I would love in the future to have on the show. Because I feel like he would just be great to just have a conversation about baseball. I feel like he would just be happy the entire time.
Right. That would make us happy.
This is a really weird tangent, but when I was down in the Senior Bowl last winter and I was interviewing Elijah Jones from Boston College right after the Packers hired Jeff Halfley, dude was smiling the entire time, and I'm like, I want that guy. Like, that guy's just happy to be here. So, all right, let's go to last night's game. and start the legend of Sal Frelick as it relates to yesterday and today. So yesterday, top of the 5th inning, Red Sox get a double, gets wiped out by Sal Frelick on a fly ball, gets a double play throwing the guy out at third base. Love to see it. Sal Frelick has a Gold Glove for a reason. It affected the Red Sox because today they didn't want to run on him anymore. And it got to a point where the Red Sox had a single, and dude tried to go from first to third, did not look at his third base coach who held the runner because they didn't want to get thrown out by Sal. And he ended up getting thrown out by Sal anyways because the guy at first base thought he could go straight to third. So
a nice job by Bowers on that play as well.
Yeah. Yep. He textbook played that. Run towards the runners, keep them from advancing. So, yes, good call. Now, Sal Frelick, fantastic game last night. He was on multiple times. He drove in the first run that the Brewers needed when Christian Yelich got Aroldis Chapman for a double down the left field line. Had an opposite field double, and Sal Frelick brought him in. Sal Frelick was also on base when Christian Yelich – or no, he was not on base when Christian Yelich. Sal Frelick was the first guy to celebrate with Christian Yelich. Sal Frelick, that dude – I'm going to say it again when we get to today's game. That dude loves being a Brewer. That dude might be the dude that loves being a Brewer more than anybody.
He's just a dog. He's just a winner. You can tell when people are winners. He is a fucking winner, dude. Sal Frelick is a winner. Love that guy.
Now, last night's game was the game where I said what I said to you is that we need the AAA ball strike challenge rule in Major League Baseball today. It needs to be here today. We're going to try it out in spring training and maybe implement it next year. It needs to be here today. First inning, Aaron Savali is pitching to Rafael Devers, and he had to strike him out twice. It's blatant pitches that are being called balls. And it doesn't take a long time. It takes like 5 seconds. Tap the helmet. They go into the Hawkeye system just like they have in tennis for a fucking decade. Maybe 2 decades at this point. You see where the ball goes. There's tons of cameras tracking it all. Like StatCast is literally doing renderings of guys as they're hitting balls and tracking fly balls, but you can't tell me when a ball goes into the fucking square.
Right.
Can't have that. Nope, can't have that. And I told you that I was going to talk about this, and then I was going to add one thing to it that was going to sound smart. And the thing is Major League Baseball, the umpires could really save a lot of face if they were advocates for adding that challenge. You realize what type of perception shift Major League Baseball umpires could add to their backing if they went to Major League Baseball and said, hey, there's this tool we could use to help us do our job better. Do you realize the amount of respect that people would give to Major League Baseball umpires if they were like, hey, we know we're not perfect. There's this tool we can use to help be better. Let's try that.
I like that. You'd have to have some guys swallow some ego, but I like that.
Dude, I would respect the hell out of an umpire if he said that.
Yeah.
If he came forward and said, hey, we need the ball strike challenge because my peers and myself, we are not perfect. And we would like to give the opportunity to some pitchers and hitters in this game who see all of these pitches all the time when, tomorrow I'm going to be the umpire at second base. And the next day I'm going to be at first base.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be behind the plate. When I'm behind the plate once every 5 days versus guys who are at the plate 4 times a day or throwing 100 pitches or 20 pitches a day and just giving them the opportunity to be like, hey, that was a strike.
Yeah.
We just talked about it with Logan Henderson. Now we're talking about it with Aaron Savali. Abner Uribe the day before. Like, these situations here can help the Brewers bullpen.
Yeah.
It can help their starters go deeper into games by not having to throw a bunch of extra pitches because an umpire made a horrible call. And yes, the reverse will happen occasionally. Sometimes there will be, a strike 3 that's called that should have been ball 3 or ball 4. It's going to happen occasionally. But I can tell you 5 examples in the last 4 weeks where the Brewers have gotten absolutely screwed out of some strikeouts because of some horrible calls. So we need the AAA challenge ball strike rule in Major League Baseball today. It's happened to Alexander. It's happened to Uribe. It's happened to Henderson. It's happened to Savali. It needs to be here. AAA has been doing it for 2 years. It should be in Major League Baseball. It's not a hard system to implement. You already have all the stuff for it. It does not add a lot of time to the game. It needs to be here.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's not. If it's been in AAA for 2 years, that doesn't make sense to me.
Now, there was also one where Eric Haas had a ball where he was trying to frame it. Should have been a strike, but because Haas dropped it as he was trying to catch it, the umpire perceives it as, oh, that must have been a low and outside pitch.
Yeah,
when it was a strike. That's a thing where you should be able to be like, hey, I dropped it while I was trying to frame it, and you can go and see that it's a strike. Now, the other part of this is that I don't remember who had the strikeout, but there was a ball that was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 inches outside of the rectangle, but the strike zone goes up over the plate. Like if the plate was a circle, there would be a cylinder on top of it. So if it crosses the plate at any point, it's a strike.
Oh.
So if it crosses the front of the plate and then goes out of the zone out the side, that's still a strike. As long as it goes over the plate at some point. So you have guys that throw really nasty sliders. If it starts in the zone, crosses the plate as a strike, and then goes out the side of the strike zone, that's a strike.
I mean, yeah.
So, it's not every pitch that ends up outside the strike zone is a ball either. But again, you have the technology to do it.
Right.
You have no reason to not do it.
Pride.
God, it's not even it's so annoying. Aaron Savali last night had to throw 42 pitches in the first 2 innings. And I give him props for still getting through 5 innings and an extra batter.
Yeah.
With only 1 earned run charged to him. And with the only run that Boston had was on a wild pitch by Aaron Ashby.
Yep.
And I did look, some of his stuff is breaking a little bit less, but his slider is breaking more than his normal stuff. So he just doesn't quite have his exact kind of feel for his breaking pitches. So that's just something that's going to come with innings. Adam Uribe is a great example of a guy who, with more innings, his command has gotten better and better and better. And then obviously had to pay homage to Yelly with the walk-off grand slam. You and I were talking as it happened, and it was an awesome moment. And for him to have a walk-off grand slam as his first game-winning home run is super awesome. So I had to bust out the Wisco Ball hoodie. You can get Yelly hoodies and t-shirts at wiscoball.com. You can also get Wisco Fanatics merch there, but had to break out the Yelly hoodie today. So what stood out to you from last night's game?
Yeah, so all that good stuff. Savali was really, really good last night and proved that he should not be sent down. I don't know why people are saying that. 5 innings, 1 earned run, like you said, an inherited runner scores on Ashby, but Ashby was still very good in his 2 innings, only 1 hit, 2 Ks and a walk. Jared Koenig was big last night. He came into the game with some big ball situation and freaking dealt with it. Grant Anderson, tremendous. And like you said, we were talking, and Big Z comes in, gets a couple outs. I said it to you. The only he's walking to the dugout like it was just gonna be like a normal day for him. Like yeah, go score some runs, yeah. But he goes, fuck yeah, just like so quiet, like. Bro, you don't have to say it, but like he knew the camera was on him, and he knew like you brought up a good point that you knew that people in the dugout were looking at him, but he just fuck yeah.
He came into a situation with 1st and 3rd and 1 out, and struck out Jaron Duran and got Rafael Devers to ground into a fielder's choice. Fly out, not fielder's choice.
To get those 2 in that situation is bonkers.
And then we had a conversation where it's like his last name is Zastryzny. Like that's just a dude that has to wear number 51.
Yeah. We were I was like, dude, he has an offensive lineman last name, bro. Like 58 makes too much sense for him.
Oh man, I could totally see this dude rocking a 91 jersey.
Dude, if you wore 91,
that's a name that's got to have 77 under it.
God, baseball, dude. That's just wrong.
But like we said, I mean, you're talking about all the bullpen usage. You're talking about the leverage of these situations. The Brewers won this game by 4, and the 4 runs came on the last swing of the game.
Yeah.
So when you're gonna scroll through the Brewers schedule and you're like, oh, they're not winning all these games by save situations.
Mm-hmm.
Last night was an extra innings game that they ended up winning by 4 on a walk-off grand slam.
Yeah.
There's a ton of high leverage baked into that.
Yeah.
10 innings of it. And that's where, like you said, we need the offense to blow somebody out. Today was not that day.
No.
So we get to today's game, and there's more extra innings. So what stood out to you from today's game?
Oh, okay. So we got to have a conversation about Freddie because I honestly feel like he was overthrowing
His fastball for sure.
Yeah, he was overthrowing everything, trying to have like a 13K game. And of course, during the pregame show, they were, because I turned it on early because I was busy painting today. I left some of it on me today. So
nice.
We're in the middle of
that, but I believed you.
We're in the middle of a big giant order right now, so I'm just getting my ass whooped. So I turned it on early and I popped the headphone in. I was listening, and of course they're talking about how Freddie's been dominant at home, and I believe them. They had all the numbers to back it up, and then. Of course, he comes out in the first couple innings and he's, 40 plus pitches into it. And it's like, God, he gives up the solo homer. And it's like, I texted you and I was like, dude, this is going to be one of those classic games where he fights through 5 innings, gives the Brewers a chance to win. And then people are just going to be like, he's not an ace. I haven't even looked online, but I guarantee there's like 12 posts about it.
I guarantee you after he threw, it was 27 pitches in the first inning, and he had 51 pitches after the second inning.
Oh, that's what it was, 51. I thought it was like 48.
Yeah. 2 walks in the first inning, a 2-out solo home run to the number 9 hitter.
Yeah,
and
that was like a 9-pitch at bat.
And then after that, the other contextual thing that I was talking about with starters and where the defense can help him out was he got a ground ball, and Bowers, as he was stretching, pulled his foot off the bag.
Yeah.
And there ended up being a reach on an error. And then after that, another walk.
Yep.
And then he had a 1-2 count on a guy that got back to a 3-2 count. He did end up striking him out. But, that's tons of pitches.
He threw a season high today at 108. So
108 pitches to get through 5 innings. Now, again, it's good for him. It's gritty for him to get through the 5 innings.
Yeah.
It was helpful. There's going to need to be some situations where it's like that. We're going to get to a point where the bullpen is so overworked that, knock on wood that it doesn't happen, but Aaron Savali or Quinn Priester or Chad Patrick's going to get to a game where they give up like 5 runs in 3 innings. You're going to have to stay out there for a while, dude.
They're going to have to wear it.
You're going to have one where you just eat a game where somebody might be hitting you around and you give up 8 runs and you're going out there for inning number 6.
Yeah, Peralta is a guy that can go 7-8 innings. We've seen it before. He's got to stop getting so many 3-ball counts, man. He's just not helping himself.
He's a guy that you would trust to go through the lineup a third time if his pitch count is in a good spot.
Yep.
You have other guys who are getting to the lineup through a third time, and they're being pulled, like I said, the first time that they don't have an advantageous matchup.
Yeah.
Even though they're only at like 80, 85 pitches. You could face another 2, 3, 4 batters and, end up finishing with 6 1/3 or 6 2/3 innings pitched on 100 pitches versus getting pulled at 5 2/3 for Chad Patrick after he's thrown, 83 pitches.
Yeah.
Or Savali, who his first appearance, granted, it's coming off of rehab. 73 pitches, but you're getting pulled once the matchups are bad in the third time through the batting order.
Yeah.
So that's a next step opportunity for Freddie, who is, kind of getting to the later part of his prime.
Yeah. I still think that he has an opportunity to put some really, really good starts together. Be nice when they get Quintana back. And if I don't know, the game may have got rained out today where Woody was pitching because
He pitched today. He pitched 7 innings today.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
Okay, so the rain came after. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, he threw 7 innings, gave up 5 hits today, and I think it was either 1 earned run or 0 actually. He pitched really well. So he's pitching one more time in Nashville. So essentially he's going to be back not this coming Monday, but the following Monday is when he's supposed to be pitching against the Padres, is the day that they're kind of the Brewers media is kind of circling as the day we could see Woody back in a Brewers uniform.
Well, that would be nice to get, Woody and Quintana and have Peralta. And
Quintana is tentatively scheduled to pitch Saturday.
Okay.
Which would have been Henderson's next day.
I didn't hear how he did. I know that the T-Rats won on a walk-off yesterday, but
they did. Blake Burke had his first career walk-off.
Yeah, he did.
First round pick.
Let's go, baby. But we got to have a discussion about Nick Mears. Nick Mears, and this kind of coincides with Peralta. If Peralta's able to go, like, say he keeps his pitch count in check and he still throws the 108 and he's able to go 6 innings, that moves Nick Mears down to 1 inning of work.
Yeah.
And because, this is what happens in sports, is things that happen early in the game kind of stack up and make your decision making. And this is what the manager has to deal with every day. And when you have a bullpen that's, pretty decimated, you've had to make a lot of moves. We've had 11 starting pitchers and just a bunch. There's a ton of numbers that we can throw out here. And I'm sure people have heard most of them, but you're in a situation where he's like, he talked about maybe pulling off Mears by, dude. I wanted to talk about his dry humping.
Yeah.
I was geeking out all day.
We dry humped him yesterday. We dry humped him the day after. Yeah.
Dude, I was fucking geeking this morning. I listened to it like 6 times in a row. That shit was so funny. But anyways, he's talking about, maybe having Mears not work as much, because he's been overworked for the most part. Yep. And then you ask him to go out there for a second inning, and
he's kind of a victim of his own success. He had a really quick 1, 2, 3, 6th inning.
He did, and then he gets out there and he gets an out. He gets to the two tough guys, right? That's the 2 tough guys at the top of the order of the Boston, and then you're like, and I think Rock gave him the announcer jinx.
Yeah,
because he was talking about it. He said, "Oh, you don't want to lay up. You don't want to lay up because this guy has 12 homers. He has 12 homers. He has some pop." And all of a sudden, lo and behold, the freaking ball goes over the fence, and I'm like, "Rock, shut the fuck up, you son of a bitch."
Say it after he grounds out.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. But he ends up, collecting himself, getting that next out. So, I mean, honestly, for 2 innings of work and as overworked as he's been, I'm impressed, honestly.
Yeah, at the very least, I'm not worried.
Yeah, and people shouldn't be saying anything and being like, "Oh, Nick Mears is washed" or blah blah blah. I don't want to hear none of that.
Nope, not worried about it. Once he's back on regular rest,
we're
gonna see him throwing 98 and nasty curveballs.
I mean, he gets the day off tomorrow. Everybody gets the day off tomorrow, and they have earned the day off. I'll tell you what. And the vibes are good right now. They got their first sweep of the season.
Yeah,
hell yeah, dude.
Back-to-back 10th inning walk-offs to get their first sweep of the season. And that's insane. I texted you after the 9th inning ended. I'm like, damn, I'm sick of going into extras.
Yeah.
This is the 4th time in the last 8 games that the Brewers are playing in extra innings. And I'm like, fuck, this is not helping the bullpen.
And they had a 2-hour rain delay within that 8 games.
That's true, too.
Fuck the fuck.
I want to put something to you.
What's that?
Because Sal Frelick was fantastic today.
Mm-hmm.
He started 3 for 3. He finished. He finished 4 for 5. Scored twice, and he's batting as of today. After today's game, he's batting .294. I want to put something to you because they talked about it on the broadcast. We've seen it in person. We know that Sal's a contact hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I think being shorter helps him keep his bat path in line with the pitches better.
I can see that, but to me, the most impressive thing about Sal Frelick is for him being a smaller guy, how the hell is he getting on top of those high fastballs? That's crazy to me, dude. His hands are that quick.
Timing.
What's that?
Timing?
It could be, but
oh my God. I mean,
he's a dog, dude.
StatCast just came out with a new bat tracking. It's like they can give you the entire bat path. They can give you the tilt of where the guy's bat is traveling relative to his body, what the launch angle is going to look like based on that. There's tons of new metrics for it. Yeah. And I don't fully 100% understand it yet, but I understand what the bat path traveling through the strike zone. The longer you can keep the barrel of your bat in the strike zone, the better opportunity you're going to have more hits. If you have more like an uppercut, that's obviously not good. That's generally where you see guys that strike out a lot or hit a lot of home runs.
Yep.
So like a guy like Pete Alonso has more of an upward swing versus more of a level swing, which is what Sal Frelick has. Sal Frelick has a crazy level swing. And I don't know this because I haven't looked into, his tilt and his bat path and everything, but watching him today and seeing, obviously he was 4 for 5, the way that he swings and that he keeps his body so level, it keeps the bat in the strike zone for a long ass time. So if you're throwing a ball that's anywhere near the strike zone and Sal's got an eye on it, he's ripping singles all day.
Oh yeah.
And he's going to hit the occasional home run.
Yeah.
His swing, his contact is fantastic.
Yeah. So
Sal Frelick was instrumental into today's game, and he scored the winning run. Yep. And he was the second guy to get to Caleb Durbin. Terang was the first guy to get there, and Sal Frelick, who scored the run and then ran out to Durbin, was the second guy to get there, and his face is just beet red. Like, he scored the run, he took his helmet off, he chucked it. Sal Frelick loves chucking helmets, and he goes out and he's just mobbing Caleb Durbin, and that's why I said, I'm like, I'm dead serious. I don't think there's anybody who's more excited to be a Brewer than Sal Frelick.
What did I say to you after he had that big home run and he was chucking his helmet, what you were referencing after he had the big home run? This is 2 weeks ago now at this point. And what did I say to you after there? I was like, maybe Sal Frelick's the guy that lights the fire under people's asses. He's a fiery guy already. Maybe he's the guy that takes the reins on that and says, let's fucking go. And his little celebration he does on when he hits a double.
Ortiz is starting to do that too.
I was like, I don't know what that means. I would love to hear. I would love if Sophia could tell me what that means.
It looks like it's like an STS, so I'm trying to think of like what that could be.
Tyler Schicker?
I mean, but that doesn't have an S in front of it. If you did the slick, I mean, you could do it.
I was like,
hey, point, if you're talking about Sal Frelick being the helmet chucker and the dude that's red in the face because he's, yelling at his guys because they're all fired up. You want to know what I think? Rhys Hoskins is the little angel on his shoulder telling him, yeah, go do that. Go be that guy.
Yeah.
I guarantee you Rhys Hoskins is encouraging Sal Frelick to be fired up in the dugout.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Rhys Hoskins probably gets called Unk by Sal Frelick. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
At this point, Sal might be calling him Dad, to be honest with
you. Yeah, the way that he is, his personality definitely seems like that. But I mean, Rhys too. He kind of plays it off too. So I mean, he's the same age as us, so that makes me feel a little bit old. But
I mean, we saw Rhys Hoskins. He'll do it too. We saw him in the first game that he played with the Brewers last year. He's giving Jeff McNeil the wah sign.
Yeah,
so like Rhys Hoskins will mix it up too.
And that's the thing about this team, and people were all freaking out. And they're 2 games under and 3 games under. It's like, this team still got toughness, dude. There's plenty of season for one. That's the first point you need to know. And there's still a monster in there. You just gotta. We talked about it before the season. You talked about it plenty. You were harping on it. Just got to get through April, May. Get through April and May. Get through April and May. Around 500, above 500, and look at. Hopefully, they can get into this weekend, win a couple of those games.
Yep.
And they can hit June and just get on a fucking tear, dude. Wouldn't that be the greatest thing of all time? They just go on a tear.
If they can get healthy and get Yelich over 250 by the All-Star break, I will be a very, very happy camper.
I would like it if Contreras was also above 250.
I will take that as well. Maybe that's something. Not next week, at the following week, we can have a couple goals before the All-Star break. We can put those together as a segment.
I like that. Because Contreras, he's still making contact, but he's at the 230 mark right now. He's kind of going through a little mini slump right now, too. So
we get him around like 260. The last guy that I want to give some credit to today is obviously Caleb Durbin. He had the walk-off sac fly, but he was also 2 for 4. So he had 2 doubles today, drove in 3 runs out of the 6 that the Brewers scored today, and obviously had the walk-off sac fly. So Caleb Durbin needs a little bit of love. We've been saying it for 2 weeks. We feel like he's close. He's hitting some deep fly balls. He's making hard contact. And he got to be the hero today. 2 for 4, 3 RBI, and the walk-off sac fly. So anything else you wanted to say on today's game?
Yeah, just on the Durbin hit, knowing that Frelick was the guy running on third base, you're like, just hit it to the middle of the outfield, and he's plenty fast enough.
Anywhere with some outfield grass, he's sending it. And honestly, I'm glad that he hit it to the center fielder more than to Abreu in right field, because that dude's got a fucking cannon.
Dude, that guy's fucking good on defense. Holy shit, dude. I didn't realize how good he was on defense.
They said it during the broadcast today. They are number 1 in center field and right field defensively.
Dude, he's insane on defense, bro. Like, what the hell?
And he made 2 sliding catches in the series too.
Yeah, dude, he's
Where
good.
It's like there was a couple times. I know last night was one of them. I'm like, nice catch, asshole. Like, god damn. Yeah. Well, and the center fielder did it today. The first hit that Collins had, he hit it to the warning track. The dude made a jumping catch on the warning track, and it's like, nice catch, dick.
I know Duran kind of struggled on defense, but he made a nice catch today, and he made a nice catch yesterday when they went to the 5-man infield. Yeah. And he had to run a long way to make that catch yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's got speed, obviously. Right. And he likes to talk some trash to the fans, which is a hilarious video. But whatever. I'm sorry, it's funny.
All right, so the Brewers have 6 games between now and next Wednesday. They have 3 at Philadelphia, and then they have 3 at Cincinnati. So we will have 6 games again next week. Hopefully next Wednesday's game doesn't also go into extra innings like the last 2 Wednesdays have before the show. And we're not hustling to get all of our notes put together before the show starts. But anything else you want to say on the Brewers?
Brewers are on national television this weekend, so hopefully they're on Saturday on FS1. So hopefully they can put a good showing together and get a win. I like when they win on national TV.
Yeah, get a little bit of national recognition. So now, as I said at the top of the show, today we are discussing what we would like for the Milwaukee Bucks and their coaching strategy and their roster construction and how those 2 things will play in together. We're not discussing any transactions today. That's going to be next week. Next week, we're going to talk about signings, trades, stuff like that. Today is strictly staff strategy and roster construction based on how we would like to see the teams, again, the strategy go. So Jake and I have been talking about this as it relates to Giannis, which the small bits and pieces of things that we've heard, seeing him doing things with Mr. Beast and Tristan Jass in Fiserv Forum, and Giannis wearing the Bucks jersey and talking about, this is my building. Yeah. I feel pretty confident that Giannis is going to be a part of the Bucks for the foreseeable future.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I think it is absolutely hilarious to watch all these ESPN talking heads backtrack. And you got ESPN, which is now becoming basically the Pacers TV show because Pat McAfee's, a big indie guy and he wears the Halliburton jersey every episode. And you got Shams on there the other day talking about, well, he's still putting some stuff together. That is not what you sounded like a couple weeks ago, buddy. You were pretty confident in what you were saying. Yeah. And you're wrong. And I commented on the video of him saying that. And I'm so serious. I had to get this. I want, like you said, some things have to be on video. If you come out and you say, listen, I fucked up. I wanted to get some content out there. I'm going to be like, I already knew that, but I respect you a lot more for saying that. Thanks for admitting it.
Yep.
I want that. I feel like we deserve that. I'm also really happy that Jokic is finally getting the goddamn Giannis treatment. Where they're doing a bunch of mock trades, trading him to the Lakers.
It should have been happening for Embiid for the last 3 years, too.
Yeah.
Even though nobody wants him because he's damaged goods.
Do it to all the stars. Don't just do it to Giannis because you don't want him to be in Milwaukee. That's ridiculous, dude.
That's all you've been telling us because of that. Like, we're not stupid. We know that you don't want Giannis in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, if you want him not in Milwaukee so that he's in a bigger market, wild idea. maybe just talk about him more. The crazy premise that there might be fans in Los Angeles and New York who just like basketball. Not only the Lakers or only the Knicks. They just might like the NBA.
Yeah.
Wild suggestion. Not to mention that, it doesn't show up in jersey sales.
You know what else is weird is the NBA is the one league, I really feel this way, is the one league where people are really just player fans.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, when we were growing up, obviously Bucks fans, but you were a big Wade guy. I was a big LeBron guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be players of fans and enjoy watching them dominate too.
Yeah,
obviously,
I had a bunch of Miami Heat stuff in my house because I was a Dwayne Wade fan for 15 years.
Yeah, I love LeBron. I have a bunch of stuff with him on the Cavs. I have some stuff with him on the Heat. I don't have any Laker stuff because I'm not doing none of the Laker stuff. But I have a lot of LeBron memorabilia. I don't hang most of it up. I have most of it in my closet over here. I have some things hanging up, like the cool figurine you gave me a while back because that thing's just fucking awesome. But I feel like the NBA being a players' league and the media controlling what people talk about, that's a really good point. You could literally just talk about Giannis.
Yeah, you just talk about it. You don't have to talk about, what if he would demand a trade? Where would he go? What would the trade look like? Why don't you just talk about how he's a good basketball player?
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about the fact that he just did a partnership with Huggies to give away like $5 million worth of diapers in Milwaukee?
Oh, well, we'll never talk about that, dude.
But there's things to talk about without having to say like, hey, can we get the good guy out of the small city?
Very true.
ESPN, and I sent something to you about it because Around the Horn ended last week, and Pardon the Interruption ended. Like, ESPN as we knew it is gone. Yeah, and it this close to seeing Tony Reale talk about the end of Around the Horn to bringing me to tears because it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be as good as it was, where we threw SportsCenter on in the morning before we went to school. We threw SportsCenter on as soon as we got home. And then at 4 o'clock, we watched Pardon the Interruption and Around the Horn back to back. And that's where we got to have differing perspectives with people having to sit at the same table and arguing on purpose just to have fucking drama on television.
Well, then on top of it, for me, is they saw all these professional athletes having podcasts, and we're podcasters ourselves. So they're thinking, oh, we have to compete with the podcast. We have to get the players on here. So then they're letting all these good journalists go the last couple of years, all these staples that have built your brand to what it was. And you're like, yeah, I want the Morris twins. I'm going to cuss. When the fuck has somebody ever said, yeah, I think the Morris twins say intelligent shit? Or Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick Perkins is the guy I was just going to bring up.
Dude, I like Richard Jefferson because he's one of the few players that I actually feel like doesn't pick a narrative and just runs with it. But those are few and far between. We had JJ Redick for a couple of years when he had his podcast. Yeah. Now he's a head coach.
There's examples, and you gave some of the main ones of you can tell who is in media because of the love of the game versus guys who are in media for the paycheck. You can absolutely tell who's who. Because the other example that I would throw out there is you can tell that Shaq and Charles Barkley are in it for the love of the game. Kenny Smith is in it for the love of the game.
Yep.
They're in it because not only do they love basketball, but they also love each other.
Yep.
And the show that they've built with Ernie Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Kendrick Perkins is working at ESPN because they're paying him to be there.
Yeah.
And he will say dumb shit that's going to get them engagement on their stuff. That's what ESPN has become, and it's fucking sad.
It is. It really is, man. They could have been the people, and they had that fight probably, man, like 10 years ago when Fox Sports kind of branched out and made Fox Sports 1. And there was kind of like that power struggle that they had going on. And ESPN stood firm because they were the man. They could have still stayed that if they wanted to. I'm okay with them having a Pat McAfee type show. That's fun. Yeah. It's lighthearted. They get some player interviews with Rodgers going on there and other NFL players and NBA players. That's fun. That's fine.
That
doesn't mean that the whole 24 hours of your fucking program has to be like that.
Yeah. And
it's stupid.
ESPN is trying to turn former players into journalists instead of just having journalists and hosts. Like John Anderson is Wisconsin native. He still does Wisconsin shows. Like Stuart Scott. Stuart Scott was amazing.
Dude, go.
He's not a former professional athlete.
Nope.
When we had the stands, we had both stands on the show together.
Yep. SVP still does the nighttime cap, but like I have a job in the morning. I can't watch that every night. That's the only good part about SportsCenter left.
Like Sage Steele, she was great.
Yep.
ESPN let her go. Rachel Nichols was great. They let her go.
Yep. She's still good when she goes on podcasts.
Rachel Nichols is awesome. And the players that she used to talk to, like when she's on with like Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson and like Kevin Garnett and stuff, they all love her.
Dude, and Steven Jackson, by the way, talking about him, he was on Dan Patrick today. He was tremendous, dude.
Yeah.
Why is that not a guy that you hire? He actually knows basketball.
Matt Barnes likes smoking the devil's lettuce.
Who gives a shit?
Obviously, you know that, but he at least knows ball.
That's what we
need. Matt
need.
Barnes knows way more ball than a guy like Kendrick Perkins.
Oh, 100%, dude.
But Kendrick Perkins is there because ESPN will pay him to say whatever they want him to say.
And he'll do it.
And that's where we've gotten to is we will like, oh my God, dude. What was it? Oh, it's Rollins. What's his first name?
On ESPN?
I don't even remember. He was like the 15th dude on the bench 1 year with LeBron.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember his name. God damn it.
And he was talking about putting a bunch of people over LeBron and Jordan in conversations, and it's like that's the dude that you put on ESPN.
That's just content farming, honestly.
And that's what it is. And if you want to call it content farming, we for years have called it clickbait.
Yeah.
Which is all that ESPN has become, sadly.
Yeah.
Which is why when it comes to social media, to team news, we stick to local reporters. They are the ones in the locker rooms. They are the ones that used to make shows like Around the Horn great because it was a guy from the Washington Post and a guy from the New York Times and a guy from the Phoenix Sun. And that's where the guys were. They were all local journalists discussing national headlines, news, not planting people on two sides of a big table with an attractive woman in the middle, leading these two to argue with each other.
I'm gonna hurt some people's feelings because I know a lot of people like this brand that I'm about to mention, but started kind of going downhill when they got purchased by Disney, bro. And Disney's put out some fucking stinker ass movies lately too.
We can have a whole 5-hour conversation about other franchises that's happened with, but I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
Disney has gone downhill, but we can have
that's a bigger conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about.
I didn't mean to start.
We got onto a tangent based on ESPN because we were talking about Giannis, and us believing that Giannis will be back also ties into what we've said about Jon Horst, who had a contract extension this past season, and I believe that Giannis and Horst are tied together.
Yes.
As far as the Bucks ownership is concerned, as long as Giannis is around, Jon Horst is going to be the GM. As long as Jon Horst is the GM, Giannis is going to be around.
Yep.
And I feel that way. We had this conversation today. We feel the same way basically about Doc Rivers.
Some people might look at Doc Rivers as the ball and chain, but I agree.
Giannis, it seems very correlated that Giannis has a good, healthy respect for Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
And we understand that every time a season ends earlier than people wanted it to or expected it to, that somebody's going to be the scapegoat And for a lot of people, it's Doc Rivers, even though the Bucks played without Damian Lillard for basically the entire time that they've had playoffs since they traded for him.
Yep.
And, haven't really been able to put together a healthy roster in the last few years.
Yeah.
It's Doc Rivers has been that scapegoat. But it seems, again, that Giannis has a very healthy respect for Doc. So we shifted from if Doc is fired, we're going to, brainstorm some candidates to we are leaning towards Doc Rivers being the head coach of the Bucks for the next 2 years still.
Yep.
And him being here with Giannis, being here with Horst. So we are shifting to, not just wanting to have different candidates, not even that necessarily we wanted to, because we were both okay with Doc Rivers sticking around, even if that was the case, to now we are just going to plan as if that's the case. And if they move on, then we'll discuss it at that time. So that said, we are going to discuss how we would like to see the coaching staff strategy shift.
Yeah,
because we like the two lead assistants outside of Darvin Ham, who is the lead assistant, Greg Buckner being the guy who runs the defense, and Dave Yeager, a guy that I'm a big fan of, running the offense. And then
Buckner was great.
Darvin Ham as the assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at staff strategy, what type of things would you like to see the Bucks doing next season as it relates to the coaching staff?
So I have two main things, one on offense, one on defense.
Me too. And then I have one tertiary thing.
My other thing is kind of roster based. But with the defense, I think that the Bucks need to apply more pressure on the ball handlers. Okay. I feel like there was way too many times coming, and I was talking to you about a couple of guys that I was thinking about. That could be that guy that, they're athletic enough and they're savvy enough to deal with that kind of stuff for an entire season. They're veteran enough that I would love to see them in that role. But I felt like the Bucks allowed people to kind of just walk into their offense too many times. Sure. And when the Bucks were having so many issues with, going into a new style defense, having Buckner come over from the Cavaliers, I feel like pressuring the ball, you can force, some unnatural habits, some bad passes, some mistiming. I mean, it just kind of goes to a discussion like about football. Like in man coverage, I would like you to play a little bit more press man to kind of mess with the timing a little bit of the quarterback. Whereas in basketball, I want you to mess with the timing of the offense a little bit. And
you can baseball, and you could throw it as a baseball example too. We talk about the base running all the time.
Yeah.
You can put pressure on the defense.
Yeah.
By putting pressure on ball handlers, you put pressure on them to take care of the ball.
Yep. So I want a little bit more ball pressure.
Can I throw something in there just because one of my points does relate to that?
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Is assuming he's back, I would like the Bucks coaching staff to encourage Kevin Porter Jr. to be aggressive but not confrontational.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I would like to see out of the staff, is to encourage Kevin Porter Jr. to be aggressive.
Okay. Well, since you named the player, I'm going to name my player. I know that Sims is a free agent. They have his bird rights. For people who don't know, I want more Sims and Giannis lineups because you're allowed to switch 1 through 5 with that lineup.
Okay.
I love Brook Lopez. I'll be the first to tell you I love Brook Lopez.
Yep.
It's time. It's the same feeling I had when Rodgers got let go. And Rodgers knew it too, to be honest with you. And people don't give him enough credit for that.
Yeah.
He kind of knew that it was time. He was going to be a little jackass getting out of here a little bit because that's what you're supposed to do as an athlete. Like, oh, how can you replace me? I'm a legend, blah, blah, blah. He knew it was time too. It's time. Brook Lopez, thank you for 7 years. You're a champion. Multiple time. What did he make? 2 or 3? Did he make 3 all defensive teams or 2?
I think it's 2, and he was DPOY finalist once.
Okay, I thought it was 3 for some reason. But you were great. But it's time that we switch to a new kind of play style on defense. We need to be able to switch 1 through 5. They need to get a little bit more athletic on the wings. Giannis, obviously, you can fucking plant Giannis at any position.
You can do whatever you want to do with Giannis.
He's one of 2 players, I believe it was 2, that have been listed at all 5 positions in their career.
I don't think he's ever been listed at shooting guard.
Yeah, he was.
Really?
Yeah, he's one of 5 players there, one of 2 players that would be listed at all 5 starting positions. I don't remember who the other one was though. I want to say Oscar Robertson, but that doesn't sound right. But anyways, apply more pressure. You have to get an athletic center. You have to get a little bit more athletic on the wings. And then I think the defense will be fine. You just need to get more downhill. On offense, for the love of God, can we stop every possession doing a fucking dribble handoff? Dude, it's simple. You want
that's been their offense.
Dude, I know. But we don't have to do a dribble handoff 6, 7 damn times in a freaking off. It's really simple. With no Dame, and you kind of hinted at it, and I was like, oh, damn, he's reading my notebook. Give Giannis the goddamn ball, and you have a small guy set a fucking screen for him. It's not rocket science.
And when Pat Connaughton opts into his player option, have him teach inverted screens.
Dude, seriously, he was the best at it.
He's still, even last year, was still good at it.
Yeah.
But give him a polo and a quarter zip and have him teaching people that.
Dude, yeah. You honestly, if you could flip it, you could just have Connaughton be the coach and have Thanasis back on the roster because he's coming back on the roster whether you like it or not. He announced that he's back. You think that Giannis is gonna be like, listen, I'm coming back. You think he's not having 43 suit up? 43 is gonna be on the roster, bro.
Dude, not even just Giannis. Thanasis has a really good relationship with Dame.
Dude, and I like Thanasis as a player. I think they could play Thanasis more.
I agree with you. We talked about it during the entire title run. Like, hey, play him the last 12 seconds of every quarter. Have him piss somebody off.
Dude, he's a good athlete. And you know he's going to compete on defense.
Yeah. And he's going to try to dunk every single time he touches the ball offensively. That's
fine. That's exciting for me.
And he's strong as shit.
He'll go get you a couple of rebounds. If in the Bucks, since Connaughton has kind of taken a step back with playing time, if they're looking for a scrapper, I think Thanasis could be that guy.
I'm down. Like
he could be the guy that could be in applying the pressure on defense to get runouts on offense. But seriously, we don't need to do a dribble handoff every single time. Just put the ball in Giannis's hands. Have a small guy set him a screen like it's 2019, 2020. When Giannis was winning the fucking MVP.
Yep.
And just have him go to work.
Yeah.
I mean, for the last 8 games of the year, he was basically averaging a freaking triple-double because he had the ball the whole damn game.
Yep.
And you know what? We were winning.
Yeah.
We were playing good defense. The ball was hopping on offense. Everything was good.
And that was without Damian Lillard. That was when he
That was without Damian Lillard.
That was when he had his blood clot.
I will take this offense, with just giving the ball. I'm fine with some dribble handoffs. It doesn't need to be every damn play.
So when you said that, what I was thinking with the dribble handoff is you run 2 or 3 of them to see if the opposing defense is going to switch on them or not.
Yeah.
And after you find that out, then you get into whatever offense you're going to run.
Yeah,
whether it's inverted screens, whether it's pick and pops, whether it's 5 out, whatever you're going to run.
Yeah.
Give Giannis the ball and let him go downhill. If you're going to try to run some San Antonio Spurs, 14 passes before we take a shot offense.
Beautiful basketball.
Whatever it is you're going to do, you can still do that after having a couple dribble handoffs.
Yeah. The only reason I wanted to take some of the dribble handoffs out is because, I thought about how many times did Doc Rivers after games talk about the ball got sticky. The ball got sticky. Well, yeah, when you're doing a dribble handoff with the same 3 goddamn people for 40 minutes, what do you think's going to happen? And then the shooters are sitting there and they can go 4, 5, 6 possessions without touching the damn ball, but they still got to run back on defense.
Yeah, then you're going to have a couple times where they're just going to jack up a shot because you might not know when the next one's going to come.
And how much better the offense
some experience on that one.
And the offense looked way better when Giannis just had the damn ball. And, I put examples of having the smalls set screens. If AJ Green can become that guy to set a screen and pop for 3, it is over. It is because he can shoot from deep.
Mm-hmm.
So he's creating a lot of space for Giannis at the top of the key. And with Giannis's ability to pull up from mid-range, if he's able to get a pull-up mid-range off the dribble, bro, it's over. It is over. I'm sick of people talking about a three-point shot. He had developed the mid-range touch last year.
Yeah.
If he gets it to a pull-up mid-range
if he gets to a dribble pull-up mid-range, he's going to look like fucking Kevin Durant without a three-pointer.
And then he could still dunk on your entire roster and your team president. It's over with if he gets a pull-up mid-range, dude.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Like he's got the thing where he does the couple rhythm dribbles and then shoots off a dribble pull-up. But we're talking like walking in running in
Yeah.
on the dribble.
Like he's going to go downhill, but then he could just stop on a dime and pull up. You know, like Chris Middleton used to.
Yeah.
And
like
just
Kevin Durant.
Bro. Oh, my God. That would be so filth.
Is there any other strategic stuff you want to throw out there?
No, that's literally that's the only two things that I can think of that would fix this roster much better.
So my two big things, offensively, one, the Bucks need, and I underlined this 3 times, they need to play faster.
Oh yeah.
People aren't going to like hearing this because they eliminated the Bucks, but the Indiana Pacers are not where they are by accident.
Yeah.
Yes, Tyrese Halliburton has made some heroic shots in their run, but the unsung hero of that team right now is Aaron Nesmith, who can move, who can shoot, and a lot of their lineup can do the same.
Yeah.
And you get to a situation where they take Miles Turner off the floor in crunch time, and they let Pascal Siakam play the 5, and they play small because then they can run. They give up size in exchange for speed.
Yep.
And it makes them very dangerous offensively.
Oh yeah.
And then they have shooters. The Bucks have the shooters, and you mentioned Sims, and that's a guy we're going to talk about a lot next week.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about him when we get into some of the roster construction stuff that we'd like to see done.
So
my offensive thing is the Bucks need to play faster.
Absolutely.
My defensive thing, and this might not be a popular take, but I would like to potentially see the Bucks play a little bit more zone.
Oh, interesting.
The Bucks, they did well actually at times later on in the year, getting some stops when they were playing some zone.
Yeah.
And if we're getting into some situations where, you know, the rotations are a little bit shorter because they're playing without Dame for the beginning of the year, and, you know, we'll see what the offseason looks like as far as additions and departures go, but just mix it up. Yep. I'm not opposed to playing a little bit more zone defense. Like I said, the Bucks, they got some stops out of it, and I really liked how they ran their 2-3 zone with a guy like Giannis in the middle, and they had him playing closer to the free throw line to the point that it almost became like a 2-1-2 zone.
Yeah.
And it gave Giannis the ability to go from like the break of the 3-point line on either side all the way down to the restricted circle.
Yeah.
And he can cover all that.
Oh, yeah, he's quick. He's quick enough and smart enough, obviously.
And he's big.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in potentially playing some more zone defense and having Giannis essentially quarterbacking it.
Okay.
I mean, we've talked like 4 straight years about Giannis not getting enough credit for his basketball IQ.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bucks and Buckner and Doc Rivers can put their money where our mouth is a little bit in that situation. And like I said, like let Giannis kind of quarterback the defense a little bit.
He's the franchise player, and he's a former defensive player of the year, so you got to trust him.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at with coaching strategy. Now, if we go to the roster construction aspect of it, like I said when you were talking about ball pressure, and I said with Kevin Porter Jr. to encourage him to be aggressive but not confrontational. Like he squared up with Rudy Gobert. I thought he was going to take a swing at him at one point when the Bucks were playing the Timberwolves.
Right.
What I essentially want is I want a quote-unquote, fuck, that guy is annoying backup point guard. The Celtics have one with Peyton Pritchard. The Pacers have one with TJ McConnell. I want that backup point guard when he comes in. It's like the other team's point guard is like, God damn it, now I have to work 3 times as hard because that guy's just going to be trying to put his hands in my pockets. So I want Kevin Porter Jr., who is going to have the first opportunity to be that guy. I want him to be that guy.
Yeah.
Next, just said about the Bucks wanting them to play faster. I'd like to get more athletic at the center position, and I would like that center to still be able to space the floor. Now, I really, really, really understand that that's a tough ask that will not be easily accomplished. It's guys that can spread the floor offensively, be elite defensively, and we're potentially asking them to play fast and be able to possibly switch 1 through 5. That's a unicorn type player. I understand that. So that might need to be 2 guys that occupy that kind of role. And that's going to be something that the coaching staff is going to have to do if it ends up being two different guys, how they handle the guy that can switch 1 through 5 and play really good defense, and then having the guy that can space the floor. That's where we've talked about previously. Like, we're not opposed to the idea of bringing Brook Lopez back as the backup center.
Yeah.
The other thing is I would like one more trusted shooter that can put the ball on the floor a little bit. So, AJ Green, he can stroke it.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly, this isn't a knock. I'm not saying that I don't want him on the team. I don't trust him doing much of anything else on offense with the ball in his hands but shooting. I mean, it's not a secret, and it's not like a dig to say that AJ Green is not a ball handler.
That's true.
Gary Trent Jr. can handle the ball a little bit, but I need some other guard that can put the ball on the floor and, pump fake and drive and dish down to a big man or kick the ball across.
Yeah, somebody else to break down the defense. I get what you're saying.
Kuzma can kind of be that guy at times, but I would like it to be another guard that can have that type of role. So we'll discuss some other players like that next week. Like I said, we're not doing anything transactional. This is just kind of how we would like to see the roster constructed. So I want an annoying backup point guard. I want a guard that can put the ball on the floor and shoot. And I want to get more athletic at the center position while still being able to space the floor.
Yeah. I'm with it. So this is how I put mine together. Point guard. I said I want a guy that's going to pressure the basketball. And you're talking about playing faster. We literally need Eric Bledsoe. I literally wrote down it. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm describing Eric Bledsoe, dude. I want a defensive-minded point guard. Still a guy that can make some plays. And you're talking about a guy that can break down a defense with the dribble. I'm like, bro, we need Eric Bledsoe, bro. I was like holding in a laugh when you were talking about it. I was like, Jesus, dude. For shooting guard, I just need a sniper. We need a sniper on the floor that's going to be a guy that they're not going to leave when Giannis is dribbling, and he needs to be on the strong side of the fucking floor with Giannis at all goddamn times. I swear to God.
I mean, Giannis can make cross court passes. So I
know, but
I'm not opposed to having
so mad because it's like you could make it 10% easier for Giannis by literally just putting AJ Green on the other side of the fucking floor, dude. Just put him over there in the right corner. Then Giannis has one less person raping his arm, dude. My God. Anyways, I used to scream at my TV. Small forward. We need a 3-and-D guy. Guy with length, sometimes shooter, always competitor on defense. That's been the mantra since Middleton has been in and out of the lineup.
So you want Shane Battier. Got it.
No, I told you who I want today, but save that for next week.
Yeah, that'll be a good conversation. I'm excited for that.
At power forward, we have the GOAT. We have Giannis.
Yep. Number 2. Sorry. I can't say he's the GOAT. He's number 2.
Nope, he's the GOAT.
He's formally number 2, though.
Formerly number 2. Center, I wrote, and we talked about this when we did our draft prep last year. We need an athletic lob threat. We need a guy that, Giannis is actually, he got a really good big game with Brook for a little bit there, especially in the Miami series in the playoffs a couple of years ago. You give him a guy that can go up and catch it. Now you're talking about Giannis not even having to run all the way down to the rim. He can just throw it up to somebody else, and they can do the goddamn work. I'm thinking Blake and DeAndre Jordan type stuff.
I mean, when Giannis is back to the basket, he's got that jump hook that he does. He forces at times, which Giannis can do whatever he wants because he's Giannis.
He's the best.
But having the ability to once in a while be able to be in that situation where he's going to turn and maybe force a jump hook to be able to just throw it 6 inches to the left or the right of the rim and have Jericho Sims cock it and be at the top of his 45-inch vertical and staring down the center of the rim and then throw it through.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun.
It sounds like a highlight that's going to be played on loop in my house for a whole day. So we need a guy who's going to be able to catch some lobs and be able to switch on defense at center. And Sims was doing good in his time here. There's a couple other interesting guys in free agency. via trade that I was looking at, and I was like, whew.
I'm excited to look into it. And with the Bucks being under the second apron, we talked about this ad nauseum over the last 3 weeks.
All right.
They have so much more flexibility. They
Yes.
can do 2-for-1 trades. They have access to the 2031 pick. Like, they have options.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to dive into the NBA offseason in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's going to
Probably
be
gonna get like, a bunch between now and next week, because next week is when we're going to be discussing our potential transactions.
Mhm.
But when we get into the league year kind of starting and we get towards the draft, like it's exciting that the Bucks have a little bit more flexibility than they have in the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I mean, keeping Giannis is obviously the big thing, and then the rest of the roster fills out after that. But the first guy they have to fill this roster with after Giannis is Gary Trent Jr. Obviously, so that'll it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks for the Bucks.
Yeah.
But
I think it's going to be fun.
With the way the East is looking right now, the Bucks could really position themselves well. Do I think the Pacers are going to be going to the finals within the next 4 days here?
4 days. Yeah.
Do I think that the Pacers are the best team in the East? No.
No.
Do I think that the Bucks are that far off from the Pacers? Also no.
No.
Honestly, looking at this playoffs,
where 11 months from now we're talking about the Bucks being the 4th seed in the East, and then they get to add Damian Lillard to the team.
That's sick.
That sounds like fun.
Sounds like such a good time. Yeah, I'm excited. It's
So
it's gonna be another good year in Milwaukee, dude.
Next week we're gonna have our transactional discussions. This week was more just kind of talking about how we would like to position the roster and position the team once they start playing on the court. But next week is going to be transactional. We'll talk about signings, trades, and have more. These are the guys that I would like them to target. And I think we're going to have some really fun conversations next week with that. So that'll be the last of our Milwaukee Bucks off-season stuff before we start getting into, the actual free agency and then the draft stuff. But we wanted to get through this stuff to really kind of show, that the Bucks, they have more flexibility than mainstream media and Twitter would have you believe. They're not in this no money, no picks, Giannis is gone scenario that people are trying to push just to get Giannis out of Milwaukee.
Dumb.
So we'll be back, like I said, with that next week, as well as 6 more Brewer games. So tune in, and we will see you guys next week. And thanks for sticking around. And go Bucks, go Brewers, and we'll see you next week.